Hey kids, you trying to get into Segment City? Well, you really shouldn't, because Segment City is a mature podcast, and listener discretion is advised. I'm just trying to look at... I know I'm in an alleyway. I know how I look, but I got some fireworks for you kids. I got snakes and I got sparklers. That's all I got. Oh, don't give me that.
Theo, everyone asks me how I stay so happy in these turbulent times.
Who's asking you?
My mom.
Okay, is that good?
And you know what my answer is? Drugs. Hard drugs.
Hard drugs. Mm-hmm.
And you gotta get them from just like a good seedy alleyway. You ever go into a nice good seedy alleyway?
Well, I've only ever been to seedy. Are you thinking of a seedy meadow or a seedy forest?
No, alleyway.
A seedy garden?
No, you're thinking of actual seeds, and I could see where you'd get tripped up by that, but no, I mean seedy as in terrifying.
Okay.
And full of people like me who are addicted to drugs. Now, you might notice that I'm scratching myself. That's because I'm just so happy.
Just ignore the scratching. You know, there's nothing to see there.
There's nothing to see, but also, do you got any money? Like, you could maybe Venmo me some money.
I do have 5 open Venmo requests from you for various amounts that I have chosen to ignore. Until I get a further explanation as to what they're about. But
because you could only remind people once per payment, so I just every time I had to come up with a new new thing.
How IRL? How often do you hit that remind button on folks? How often do you hit it, and how long do you wait? What's the etiquette around this remind?
All right,
button?
we're gonna pause the bit for a second. Get into real talk.
Yeah,
I have a friend, a mutual friend of ours.
Yeah, I know who it is.
That for some fucking reason he luxuriates in having outstanding Venmo requests.
It's so uncomfortable.
And I do the reminder, and then he doesn't pay me for like another month, and I'm like, so you're a piece of shit.
So you're sitting there and
he's the kind of person that tries to like laugh, and there's a certain type of person that can just kind of laugh when called an asshole, when you're like, you're a fucking asshole, and they're like, I know, and people just like go with it. And you go, no.
Stop giving them so much leeway. This is inappropriate and wrong.
This is everybody's issue now. We've been encouraging him to do this. So back in the bit. So can you just encourage me to do more drugs and be happier?
I have to encourage you to do drugs. This goes against all of.
You don't have to
listen.
You don't have to encourage me that hard.
I'm
already in it.
I'm a child of dare. I can't tell you to do drugs.
Dare is the biggest failure. It taught me about drugs, and now look at me.
Hey kids, you want to know what the benefits of drugs are? Come over here, I'll tell you, and then I'll tell you why you maybe should consider not doing them. But hey, they're also pretty cool.
Hey, you guys want to know what something taboo is? And you're like, what? Haven't you heard of just we do the opposite of what everybody wants for kids?
I'm a kid. I do whatever you tell me, but reverso.
And you know what's the reverso of me doing drugs? Segment City. Welcome to Segment City, where
you just told me about how happy drugs made you, and now you're saying that the opposite of that is Segment City.
This is a podcast, so it's just really stew in the world as it is. And we provide segments each week. Some are new, some are reoccurring.
Some are named Stu.
Some are named Stu, but that's not what my name is. My name's Will Kane, who's just really loves that black tar heroin.
And I'm Theo Sapakos. Drugs are bad, kids.
I wonder if they'll use this as evidence in my trial, my Seinfeld-esque trial. The whole trial is just about how bad I am.
They caught me on drug charges, Theo. Can you believe it? Well, I gotta tell you, Will, you were really out there and you were doing heroin in the street.
Theo, I was doing drugs in bed. This is a mix of George and Kramer.
Yep.
Who is this character? But we're gonna do something called Will's Stupid Thought, and this is not even a Will's original thought, but it is a very good question that they just kind of. I watched a show called We Are the Champions. I watched 2 episodes of it on Netflix, and it's about weird competitions in all around the world.
Okay.
First episode's about a bunch of people in England who go down an extremely steep hill, chasing after cheese, a wheel of cheese.
That's TV now? That's what TV is now?
I mean, that's just an event that happened every year. Like, it's an ancient tradition that people just decided to finally film. And it's a weird competition.
Wait, so there's an ancient tradition that someone throws their cheese down a hill and everyone's like, gotta run after this cheese.
They roll a thing of cheese, like a big wheel of cheese down a hill, and people, it's not like I'm going to catch the cheese. The cheese is fucking barreling down. You're never going to catch the cheese. You got to be the first one down, though.
This is my hot take, y'all. Life before like the 1980s sucked ass. This is my hot take.
They actually canceled this year. They had to cancel it. They rolled a little. They rolled a Baby Bell.
Just a Baby Bell. That's amazing.
But this is not about the first episode. The second episode was about competitive chili eating, like chili peppers. And there's a guy named Smokin' Ed.
Yeah.
Who fucking made the Carolina Reaper, which was the hottest one. And then in the competition, that was the midpoint, was the Carolina Reaper. And he said, y'all motherfuckers, I created new ones.
Oh my God.
And they're the spiciest fucking thing. And
lad.
these people are just like impossibly. And so it gets to the end. And I think it was him or somebody else had the quote that I had to like pause and think about, because I'm like, that's actually a very good point. What's Stupid Thought for this week is there anything worse than coming in second place in a chili eating contest?
You've gone the distance. You've experienced the pain. You've
gotten to the painful
You're
point.
there with the best of them, and yet you fall short. You can't quite eat that nasty, nasty last pepper.
I'm going to propose that becomes a new saying. Is there anything worse than being second place in because there's so many like things that are in a similar vein, because it's like you've gone the distance, but you didn't get the medal. Like, it's when you get through the entire interview process for a job that you just worked hard at, and then they're like, we went with somebody else. Yeah. And you're just like, I just spent so much of my fucking life on this one interview thing, and you just said no.
Yeah, geez. Well, that's a good point. Now when someone's having a bad day, they're like, "Oh man, my car broke down in the middle of nowhere," and you're like, "Well, at least you didn't come in second in a chili eating contest." It really puts it in perspective for you. It really clarifies that no matter how bad you've got it, at least you didn't eat all those spicy peppers and blast the flavored sensing taste buds from your mouth for literally no reason.
And some of these, they have to eat the whole thing, the whole pepper. And some of these motherfuckers are huge. I think that's the worst part, is having to like chomp through. Like the tiny ones, I could do those. Like the pain's going to be after, but you're going to be eating way
Are there just
shit.
Some people that are like have a genetic difference and don't like
they have to.
They have to, but also like if you have a genetic difference where you don't taste the spice, what enjoyment do you get out of it? Like that's like you and I entering like a bell pepper eating contest. Like that does nothing for me. I'm just sitting around eating a lot of bell peppers.
I don't think it's like people who can't feel pain, because there are people like that. I think it's just they have a much higher tolerance / they've built a tolerance and they're like, because one guy was like a thrill seeker and he jumped out of a plane and then had like 10 Carolina Reapers in his mouth and he ate those during the like, and I'm like, what? Why are you doubling up?
Wait, is it additive? Is it additive thrills? Like, do you get more thrill? Like,
probably.
I feel like if you're sitting there eating your peppers while you fall, you're not paying attention to the fall, and it's not giving you anything. Like he
had it in his mouth, and he's just
like, if you are falling and also experiencing spicy pain, like you can really only pay attention to one thing or the other. You're either freaking out because you're falling, or you're freaking out because your mouth is on fire. You can't pay attention to both.
I think you can. I don't think it blocks it out. I don't think you go into a white room once you bite into the pepper and you're just
but I'm saying like if you were skydiving and all of a sudden your mouth was on fire, like would you have the mental capacity to like focus, like to be able to pay attention to both. I feel like I would switch back and forth to be like, oh my God, my mouth is on fire. Oh my God, I'm falling. Like I would switch back and forth, but it wouldn't be additive. Like,
no, I think there's also another question in terms of additive of, is there a pain threshold when you're in the chili eating contest that you just can't have more pain in your mouth?
Right. Like you've reached the cap, and like it doesn't matter if you eat an even hotter spiciness because you've reached the cap. It's just
there has to be a pain threshold for people.
Yeah, there has to be, like your brain is only capable of experiencing so much spiciness.
Yeah. Which is the people who the person who won was the people who came like to the finish were two like dark horses. Like nobody expected them. They're like people who are famous in the chili world, and those people got out like pretty.
Chili world. I'm kind of a big deal in the chili world.
So this is like a huge. They got people from like Australia and like all around, and the winner got like $1,000.
That's it?
It was like a really low amount. It was
so
like
you're basically
way less
swapping your ability to taste for $1,000. Hey, that seems like a pretty raw deal for you, my guy.
I think it's just bragging rights because these people are fucking insane.
My God, I enjoy a good spicy food. I'm a hot sauce fan. I like.
What's the hottest thing that you've eaten? Because I got asked this after.
I have some pretty spicy. I have some pretty spicy hot sauces that are like uncomfortably hot to just eat.
We did test out one of your, because you got like a subscription box.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of hot foods and hot sauces, but like I'm not in it for the pain. I'm in it for like the spicy flavor that I like. I'm not like out here eating peppers. That doesn't do anything for me.
I don't know what the spiciest thing. Maybe it was one of the sauces that you provided me when we had tacos one time, and I remember we did have. There's some that are
just like genuinely like, oh my God, this is really spicy and I can't taste anything else.
Yeah.
Thinking about spicy food is making my mouth water though.
It is good. But you know what's making my mouth water?
You don't want to say that about my neck. You don't want to say that about my neck.
Oh fuck! Oh shit! It's gonna be
into a trap here.
Welcome to my poop segment.
You walked into a trap here, William.
Oh no. Okay, go for it.
For my next segment, I wanted to go back to a segment that I introduced last week, which was eBay finds. We're back to eBay finds.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
This week we have a novelty product that can be enjoyed by the whole family. It's called Cat Itcher Brush. Lick 'em like their mother. Cat Red Giftable Love Gift New.
Okay. There's a lot of, I mean, that's par for the course for eBay, that there's a lot of adjectives. They got to
optimize that SEO, so you just got to shove words in there.
Like them, okay.
Love them like, what do you think it is? Cat Itcher Brush. Lick 'em like their mother. Cat Red Giftable Love Gift New.
The entire last half of it is nothing. Love gift new is nothing. It's SEO bullshit.
Giftable love gift new.
I'm going to. I saw a product. I remember that you gave me a flashback. I blocked this out of my memory and I didn't even know it.
Of course, yeah.
It's like a thing that you put on your tongue, and it's like a rubbery kind of cat thing, big tongue that you use to groom your cat.
Yes.
Is that? Oh, Jesus H.
This is
Christ.
that. I'm going to read you. Is
this what our podcast has evolved into?
Yes, it is. This is from Fairly Odd Treasures, who has 86,000 sold.
I like that name.
They have 99.2% positive feedback. So good job, Fairly Odd Treasures. Let's see. This is the full description. Here we go. So features. The perfect accessory. If you love your cat and want to show it in a new and hilarious way, this is the item for you. Hey, if you're doing this to your cat, it isn't hilarious anymore. You need to be stopped. You're a menace. You're a menace to society, and you need to be stopped.
You have to be stopped.
You have to be stopped. You have gone too far.
We need to make a superhero vigilante that busts into your fucking door and just says stop. You need to... Carol, stop it.
I'm fairly happy we live in a world with no vigilante justice, because I think it would go too far very quickly. But if this product was being used by someone I know, I would don the cape and the mask. I would do it.
The door busts open and she just turns like with the tongue on, just looking. Oh, mid-lick.
Designed for kitty comfort, this tongue-shaped mouthpiece has small pegs on the tongue to brush your cat gently and kindly. Form and function. This mouthpiece is made of food-grade plastic and is safe for both you and your cat to be in contact with.
Stop.
Great. Glad you thought of this, because I would rather the person who is using this just get poisoned from the plastic and die. Thanks. All right. Be the perfect pet parent. If you have a cat or know a pet lover, then this brush is a must? I don't think so. An impossibly great gift. Sure to make guests purr with delight for your next birthday, white elephant, office,
Jesus
or a secret Santa. Imagine if you went to your office white elephant party and this was the item you unwrapped. What would you say? What would you do?
I would, you know what? I would purr in delight. I would purr at the fucking person.
No!
Just fucking purr. And what did they expect?
You earned this. You have earned this. The best part is... about this post really is the photos of he's a young man and he's holding a cat and he's licking that cat, and you know that he just is out here to, like, you know, try to get into modeling. This wasn't what he had in mind. This isn't what he had in mind when he went out for modeling gigs. Yeah, I do a bit of modeling on the side. Oh, what kind? Like clothes or maybe watches.
Vietnam flashback to the photo shoot.
It zooms in on his eyeball.
Fuck this, dude.
How much would you say that this novelty item should cost?
They should pay me money for it. I don't want this. Realistic, I'm gonna say $29.95.
It's only $11. $11.01.
Okay. It's a cheap piece of... Now I'm disappointed in myself that I said it was $30.
That you would be willing to shell out $30 for this.
I imagined that this was like a TV, those like 3 payments of $19.95.
Right.
Fucking... Is there anything else from that? Is there like reviews per thing?
Oh, we can.
Or is it just
look
for
at some
the
reviews? Here, let's see.
I don't want to keep us up on this. But it's okay. I'm going to reveal something that might be It's not incriminating, but I feel like every person who has a pet, at some point goes, does my pet understand me? And I've done this with my cat, where I'm like, what does my cat do? What is my cat's language? And like, they push their forehead against people because it's like, I think that it's part of like marking territory or something like that. So me as a cat owner, sometimes I'll go up and try to match that language by pushing my forehead against my cat's, and it's just me rubbing my face against my cat. So it's still cute. It's not like, but it's me trying to, and my cats don't give a fuck. That's the thing. No, cats are smart enough to go, you're faking it, dude. What are you doing?
Yeah, they're like, I'm getting nothing out of this. I'm getting nothing out of this. But
they know it's not a real tongue. They just know you're being a fucking weirdo. Like, cats will be like, what are you doing, dude?
Like, you understand, cats know the full implications of spending money on this item and knowing that you could have spent your money on something else full well.
Cats are very smart. They just don't give a fuck.
Yes.
That's the whole thing about cats. They know that petting is good. They're good with petting. You don't need to do the extra shit. They don't even appreciate if you do the extra. The tongue thing doesn't.
As they are.
Just give them I have a brush for my cats. It's just a regular fucking brush. Just get a regular brush.
Or even better, take that brush, take some duct tape it to your tongue. Boom, instant solution, solved. You don't need to buy this.
Yeah, we don't need to look at reviews here.
We can move on from this disgusting item. I just thought I could enlighten your day.
Well, let me enlighten your day, Theo. Normally I haven't had a good theme for my segments for Segment City. Sometimes, for people who don't know, I'll just like happen upon a theme. Just when I come up with my segments, I'm like, oh, this fits into a theme. This is a very distinct theme of True crime week.
Real fake crimes here.
This one's going to be a shorter true crime thing because I got a longer true crime coming up. But I listened to 2 podcasts about 2 different cases that are kind of weirdly inverses of each other. And they're very famous cases. And I wonder if you know anything about them.
Okay.
One's a bummer. One's less of a bummer.
Okay.
I'm going to start with the bummer one because this is a comedy show and I would rather end on the one that's less of a bummer. Do you know about the West Memphis Three?
No.
It is in reference to a case in which, this is the bummer part, 3 boys, 8-year-old boys got murdered in a forest in West Memphis, Arkansas.
Yikes.
And so 3 teenagers got sentenced for it. Very unjustly so.
Okay.
So what happened was basically 3 boys die. They are found. Very tragic. And there's this one like 18-year-old named Damien Eccles, who's from a poor family. He's like this goth kind of kid. And everybody in this town fucking hates Damien, which partially is it because he has like a goth kid, like small town goth kid, like got to be rough and tumble. So he just is like, hey, whatever, dude. Right. And they get pinned for this because the cops just don't know what the fuck is going on. And they're just like, somebody's got to pay for this. And we think it's Damien Eccles. And this is wrapped up in, do you know what the Satanic Panic is?
Yes, it happened in like the 80s, right?
Yeah. And it was like wrapping up kind of in the 90s. This is in 92.
Okay.
So it got wrapped up in the Satanic Panic because he wore black and stuff. Literally one of the pieces of evidence at his trial was like, he wears black. And he has some spooky books in his home. And so it's just a very famous case because it is a terrible... They literally didn't have any physical evidence for these 3 boys, which the 3 boys were Damien Eccles, his friend Jason Baldwin, who literally... Their only case on Jason was that he's friends with Damien. And
That's
also
it?
a little bit into goth shit.
Oh my God.
And I think Jason Baldwin got life in prison.
Oh my God.
Yeah, spoiler alert. And then a boy named Jesse Miskelly who barely knew them, but it was 2 trials. One, which was Damien Eccles and Jason Baldwin, and the other that was Jesse Miskelly. And Jesse Miskelly has apparently the like mental ability of like a 3rd grader.
Okay.
Which is really fucked up when you try... Because he was like 17 or something when they convicted him. Like these were teenagers. These were kids.
Right.
And they literally, his lawyer came in and he's like, do you understand your rights? I'm your lawyer. And he's like, are you another police officer? He's like, no. Do you not know what a lawyer is? And he's like, no. So that's like, yeah.
That's the level we're dealing with. Okay.
And he got a pamphlet. And he was like, who's Satan? And he's like, do you mean Satan?
Satan?
And this was a trial about them being Satanists. so this lawyer's like, what the fuck? And so these kids basically got hardcore push. Like the judge also just fucking hated Damien Eccles and would not allow testimony and things that he did not see was fit, including the idea, he literally said psychology has no place in the courtroom when they tried to bring in a psychologist to be like, hey, so this one kid, 1, is mentally handicapped. 2, there's so many false confession things. Like you guys are like, there's so much psychology stuff that if we bring up would fucking destroy your case. And he just went, no. And I mean, Damien Eccles also didn't help his own case by being kind of a shithead in court because he was like a confident. He's like, they don't got anything on us.
Right.
Because they didn't. But also he was like sneering. He would like smile and blow kisses to the family of the dead children. It's like, my dude.
Yeah,
my dude.
That's fucked. Yeah, that's really fucked. It's
like, okay, Damien, you're a fucking idiot. But he's also 18. So it's like, okay, whatever. And so... Jason got, I think, life. I think Jesse got 40 years, and Damien got on death row.
Jesus.
The only reason that these guys are out, one is because of a series of documentaries about it that were like, hey, what the fuck?
Yeah.
A lot of people in like the 90s, like musicians and stuff, fought for their cause. They only got out in 2011.
Jeez. Okay. So they were in years for like, basically, they're in for like 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. The only reason that they got out was because of new evidence and because the fucking judge moved on to the state senate. Like he was no longer the judge because he was just like, I'm going to, anytime there's any appeals, I'm going to say no.
Jesus.
So the court basically was like, so we're going to get like absolutely destroyed if we try to do another trial for this. So we're going to do what's called an Alfred plea, which I think that's what it's called. But it's basically the most bonkers idea I've ever heard for a thing. Literally, it's the defendant says, I am proclaiming my innocence, but the state had enough evidence to to get a conviction on me. And so they just got let out.
Wait, how does that work? What?
Yes, exactly. They still say it's like, I'm saying I'm innocent, but you had enough evidence on me. And so we're just going to call it even, basically. And they got out.
What?
And they couldn't like sue for wrongful imprisonment because
that was the deal.
Because that was the deal, basically.
Oh my God.
And Damien Eccles went blind because he was in solitary confinement and didn't have like far vision. He was like in a tiny room, dark room. So he basically went blind. The other two like were okay in prison, but it was like they just got absolutely. They just destroy these, and the worst part is, the nobody knows who killed the kids.
Right.
The case case closed in Arkansas, so that was a terrible case. Second case I just want to bring up quickly. Do you know about the Menendez brothers?
I do know about the Menendez brothers. Right.
They are, for people who don't know, it's these two like preppy rich boy kids in Hollywood that killed their parents. And there was a big public trial about it. And what I found interesting about this case, one, these kids are totally innocent, or not innocent. They're totally guilty, like complete opposites of. And what's interesting to me is that the case that the defense had was not, we didn't kill our parents. It was, our parents were so terrible that we were justified in killing them.
Like it was basically like a self-defense argument.
Yeah. And I thought it was a very it's like, that's such a weird defense to me. And also just like the personality, because these kids are just sociopaths. Like they killed their parents, got the money from their life insurance and stuff, immediately started buying cars and partying. And everyone's like, dudes, my dudes, you're under arrest.
Yeah.
And then they went to prison, and I think they have life in prison probably. But they're just that case I think is interesting in that the personalities are a lot more interesting in the individual things, and just like the wacky defense. That's
a weird one. Like it only holds up. It also only holds up if like the kids are remorseful and basically have a good case to be like, yeah, we were like, you can like, you have to be able to empathize with the defendants in that case. And if they're sitting there like stone cold and like were like partying clearly after their parents had died, like that's not the response of people who are like have finally, that's not a rational response to anything.
It begs the question of what is the minimum amount that somebody can do to you before you are justified in killing them in self-defense.
Right.
And that's a very strange question.
Right.
And I don't think there's a right answer. And so that's the end of my. This segment was called "Will Wants to Talk About True Crime." Shut up.
True crime.
True crime. Okay, your segment now.
Hey, Will, I have a question to ask for you.
Yes.
Actually, it's more of a demand. Tell me everything you know about. Tell me everything you know about Drake Bell.
Ooh, okay. I don't know. I know a bit more. Okay, so he was on Drake and Josh.
Right.
That's what he's most famous for.
Right.
kind of dropped off the map after Drake. Was he? I think they got famous from the Amanda Show. They spun it off into Drake and Josh.
Correct.
Then he was a musician,
right?
And I remember hearing that he was very big in South America, which is weird. I remember specifically going, "That's weird."
That's weird.
That Drake Bell is very big in South America,
right?
And then he like hurt his hand, and then I heard there's some beef with Josh from Drake and Josh because he was getting married and Drake wasn't invited to the wedding.
Well, you actually know quite a bit about Drake Bell. I'm impressed.
This is just osmosis from the internet. Tell me more about Drake. Did I cover the wild parts?
So you got a lot of his backstory, but would it surprise you to know that he has changed his name to Drake Campana and moved to Mexico?
What? Wait, hold on.
Campana literally translates to bell, so rest assured that he's done his homework.
Did he did the equivalent of white girl getting like Chinese characters that's like it means
but
water.
he went all in
for
on
his
it.
last name.
He went all in on it and decided to just forget America. It's Mexico time, baby.
What the fuck?
So
he
I have a write-up of what's happened here. From bustle.com. So it says Drake Bell is apparently a pop star in Mexico and absolutely no one knew. Which I love.
What a fucking great.
So here we go. In what is likely the most bizarre news you've heard all week, we're here to report that Drake and Josh star Drake Bell has apparently named his name, moved to Mexico, and is now releasing Spanish language music. Oh yeah, minor detail. He now only releases music in Spanish.
I mean, it kind of makes sense. Why are you doing it in English when your entire demographic is... That's so wild.
Fans of the nostalgic Nickelodeon series flooded Twitter after a visit to Bell's social accounts revealed the total rebrand. He's now Drake Campana, and if you're wondering, Campana does translate to Bell. While his social media handles remain at Drake Bell at the moment, his display names both Twitter and Instagram do not. And on all of his recent photos on IG, almost exclusively promote his new music, most of which is in Spanish. Of course, fans on Twitter are shocked that Bell has seemingly decided to pack it up, move to another country, and give his career on music another shot. However, he's actually been posting about Mexico on Instagram for roughly a year now. In addition to sharing memes about leaving the United States behind for the southern neighbor, Bell shared what appeared to be his Mexican ID on the photo sharing app last November. The document shows his photo, his correct birthday, and his month and year of registration, which seems to be May 2019. It's just...
Are you supposed to do that? I feel like you're not supposed to put your official documents.
Yeah, it's not a good idea. Also, I don't know if you've looked at a picture of Drake Campana recently. He just...
Okay.
He looks like he's from the Midwest and he's in his early 30s. He looks... I don't know how to describe it other than like all of the photos of him on Google, he looks a little confused and not that happy.
Yeah.
He doesn't look very happy.
What he looks like is if you took Drake, like a picture of Drake Bell.
Right.
And then you did like one of those photo old age things. He kind of looks like Rick Astley.
He looks a lot like Rick Astley. It's super true. He looks like a young Rick Astley with his hairdo especially.
It's also just like clicking around these pictures because they're all associated with articles, and it's like things about Drake Bell, and I'm like news stories. And I'm like,
he's in the news.
Why is he in the news?
He's back in the news. While it's unclear why Bell decided to start anew somewhere else, people on Twitter certainly had some ideas. Quote, I can't stop laughing over the fact that Drake Bell changed his name to Drake Campana, moved to Mexico, and now produces Spanish music, all because he is more popular in Mexico than he was in the U.S., unquote, one person tweeted. Several others echoed that sentiment, suggesting that Bell has a larger fan base in Latin America than he does in the States. Bell even memed his interest in Mexico on Instagram in 2019. It's that, like, jealous girlfriend meme. Oh, and it's like him looking at Mexico and the U.S. being like, ugh, what? What a weird... I just... Imagine that Segment City turned out to be, like, really popular in, like, Slovenia. And we were like, all right, we're packing, we're going on the road. Okay. we're out of here.
That just reminded... I remember seeing, like, today I learned on Reddit, and there's a band that is one of the top bands in Canada that has never gone anywhere else. And because like there's bands like Bare Naked Ladies are huge in Canada, but also like I've seen them in US. They're big in US too. There's a band called The Tragically Hip, and it's only in Canada. And that's the one, like they are a bestseller in fucking Canada. And that's what Drake Bell is for Mexico.
I love it. What a move. He's just fully committed to it.
I appreciate it. I'm on board. If he found his audience.
He found his audience.
I do want to know how successful he is, though. That is a question
I want to check the charts for him. Just like see what's up with him. There was one quote that I read somewhere where here we go. Wait, oh no, that's not it. There was some quote where like he was basically saying like, I grew up in Southern California and I was really inspired by the Latin roots, and so I wanted to make something for the Latin fans. And I was like, I get it, but you also have to understand like this is just a weird thing to do, even if you grew up in Southern California, my man. It's a weird
It's a pretty like I think he just looked at his charts and he was just like selling really well in those areas. And he just went, fuck it. I'm not selling a lot in the US. I might as well go full Spanish.
I gotta respect it.
That's wild. Well,
let's see what he's doing with the charts here. I got an article here.
Okay.
In terms of charts performance, one of his songs called "It's Only Time," or maybe it's an album, fared well in the US, but saw its highest peak number 4 by the way of the top 100 Mexico chart. Oh, I see. So he was doing well in like the Mexican subsection of American charts. So I guess he was just like, this is the same thing where like Lil Nas X was like, I'm going to make a rap song and label it as a country song. And that way I'll get higher ratings on the charts because I'll be competing with country songs, but I'll actually be a sneaky rap song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only fully like it's like if Lil Nas X was like, okay, so I did a country song and now I'm moving to Louisiana and you're never gonna hear from me again.
I mean, he does wear like Stetsons and weird stuff now.
That's
like,
true. I love
it. Like future cowboy.
I love it. I think it's fantastic.
I do too. It's such a great aesthetic.
It's wonderful. I just wanted to. I usually
catch
don't pay
up with
attention.
Drake Bell.
I don't usually pay attention to celebrity gossip, but my sister brought this to my attention, and I thought it was fantastic.
The Drake Bell is doing well. You know what?
I think of Drake Bell as this lovable teenager who gets into hijinks and messes with his brother Josh. And whenever I see Josh Peck, I see a picture of him now, I get so depressed because he just looks like. He just looks like a person as an adult that I wouldn't want to interact with. I'd see him and just go,
he looks happy and healthy.
I look at him and I'm like, I'm good, thanks. I am okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Even if he's happy and healthy, he has a beard now. He was a lovable youngster, and now I think he looks he was a fat kid. He looks very Hollywood now. Like he looks extremely Hollywood and like
his smile is genuine though. I should send you, because I looked up Drake Bell age, and the picture for Drake Bell is this weird half smile, like somebody caught him right after like taking a photo. With the second photo, he just kind of like, and then, but the one for Josh Peck is like full smile, great, like love and life. And I think that's the difference between them.
Yeah, but Josh Bell is just like, you look at pictures of when he was a teenager and he was so chunky and lovable, and now he's just a guy. Now he's just some person.
How old do you think they are?
I would say mid-30s.
You're actually 34.
Yeah, that lines up. Like I was watching when I was like a preteen, and they were probably like, that makes them 10 years older than us. That makes sense.
Yeah. But, that's very interesting. Now, from jet setting around to different parts of the world to one of the most famous jet hijackings in the world.
Oh,
welcome to Wikipedia Historian, True Crime Edition. Theo, do you know anything about a man named D.B. Cooper?
I know the name. I'm sure as soon as you say something about him, I'm going to be like, oh, that guy.
Yeah. Well, I already gave away that this is a skyjacking.
Skyjacking.
It is air piracy. You've
been skyjacked.
It is one of the most famous true crime unsolved mysteries of all time. So let's just get right into this. On Thanksgiving Eve, November 24th, 1971, a middle-aged man carrying a black attaché case approached the flight counter of Northwest Orient Airlines in Portland International Airport. He identified himself as Dan Cooper and used cash to purchase a $20 one-way ticket on Flight 305, a 30-minute trip.
$20?
Yeah. It was a 30-minute trip north to Seattle.
Still, $20? That's great.
Yeah. This was fucking 71. Like, Cooper boarded the aircraft, a Boeing 727. Cooper was a quiet man who appeared to be in his mid-40s, wearing a business suit with a black tie and white shirt. He ordered a drink, bourbon and soda. Ooh, that's some cool, classy. While the flight was waiting to take off. Flight 305, approximately one-third full, departed Portland on schedule at 2:50 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Shortly after takeoff, Cooper handed a note to Florence Schaffner, the flight attendant situated nearest to him in a jump seat attached to the aft stair door. Schaffner, assuming the note contained a lonely businessman's phone number, dropped it unopened into her purse. Cooper leaned toward her and whispered, "Miss, you better look at that note. I have a bomb." Which, can you imagine the being the guy with the bomb, and you're just like, and then you hand, like, you shakily hand the note,
super
and then
nervous,
she just doesn't even fucking look at it.
Rolls her eyes.
She throws it in the trash, and you're like, ma'am,
please. This is not part of my plan. Yes.
I had a bourbon and Coke to really calm my nerves. Okay, so the note was printed in neat all capital letters with a felt tip pen. Its exact wording is unknown because Cooper later reclaimed it, but Schaffner recalled that the note said that Cooper had a bomb in his briefcase. After Schaffner read the note, Cooper told her to sit beside him. Schaffner did as requested, then quietly asked to see the bomb. Cooper opened his briefcase long enough to have her glimpse 8 red cylinders, with attached to wires coated with red insulation in a large cylindrical battery. Imagine seeing this fucking cartoon bomb, too. Just God. Seeing red sticks of dynamite.
Yeah, looks like all you gotta do is light the match and we're off.
Yeah, it's just, you could just blow it. Like, she doesn't know what a fucking bomb looks like. That looks good enough to her.
She was hoping that he'd open the suitcase and it'd just be full of loose M&Ms, and she'd be like, "Ha ha!"
He opens it up and it's one of those cannonball ones with the wick coming out, and he's like, "I got a bomb, ma'am." After closing the briefcase, he stated his demands: $200,000 in, quote, negotiable American currency, 4 parachutes, 2 primary and 2 reserve, and a fuel truck standing by in Seattle to refuel the aircraft upon arrival. Schaffner conveyed Cooper's instructions to the pilots in the cockpit. When she returned, Cooper was wearing dark sunglasses, which leads to the famous sketch that everybody has seen that kind of looks like a friend of ours named Jacob.
I gotta look this up.
Look up. It's a very famous, like, composite sketch. And they say it's pretty accurate because the stewardess has spent a lot of time with him. The pilot contacted Seattle Tacoma Airport Air Traffic Control, which informed local and federal authorities. The 35 other passengers were given false information that their arrival in Seattle would be delayed because of, quote, minor mechanical difficulty. Northwest Orient's president, Donald Northrup, authorized payment of the ransom and ordered all employees to cooperate fully with the hijackers' demands. The aircraft circled Puget Sound for approximately 2 hours to allow Seattle police and FBI sufficient time to assemble Cooper's parachutes and ransom money and to mobilize emergency personnel. Flight attendant Tina Mucklow recalled that Cooper appeared familiar with the local terrain. At one point he remarks, "Looks like Tacoma down there," as the aircraft flew above it. He also correctly mentioned that McCord Air Force Base was only a 20-minute drive at that time from Seattle Tacoma Airport. Schaffner described him as calm, polite, and well-spoken. Not at all consistent with stereotypes. Popular with air piracy at the time. Quote,
excuse me, we need to stop. Popular with air piracy?
Yeah, popular associated with air piracy
at
the time.
They're
I think it's
their stereotypes where the hillbillies were just getting on planes and give me all your money. Give me your. I've got 300 guns in this suitcase, sir. I don't think that's possible.
In the Wikipedia,
you listen to me.
In the Wikipedia article, they do say after stereotypes, they put, quote, enraged, hardened criminals, or, quote, take me to Cuba political dissidents.
Oh, my God.
So I think that's why I skipped over it.
I think that was a great detail.
Take me to Cuba.
Take me to Cuba.
He wasn't nervous, Mucklow told investigators. He seemed rather nice. He was never cruel or nasty. He was thoughtful and calm all the time. He ordered a second bourbon and soda. So he's just fucking getting...
Knows what he likes.
Paid his drink tab and attempted to give Mucklow the change. And offered to request meals for the flight crew during the stop in Seattle. FBI agents assembled the ransom money from several Seattle area banks. 10,000 unmarked $20 bills, mostly with serial numbers beginning with the letter L, indicating issuance by the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, and mostly in a certain series, and made a microfilm photo of each. So they had copies of, they know what money is being given to him. So if it goes into circulation, they can find him. Cooper rejected the military issue parachutes offered by McCord Air Force personnel, instead demanding civilian parachutes with manually operated ripcords. At 5:24 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Cooper was informed that his demands had been met, and at 5:39, the aircraft landed at Seattle-Tacoma Airport. A plainclothes flight operator delivered the cash in a knapsack and parachutes to Mucklow via the aft stairs. Once the delivery was complete, Cooper ordered all passengers, Schaffner, and senior flight attendant Alex Hancock to leave the plane. During refueling, Cooper outlined his plan to the cockpit crew, a southeast course toward Mexico City at the minimum airspeed possible without stalling the aircraft, approximately 100 knots at approximately 10,000 feet altitude. He further specified that the landing gear must remain deployed in the takeoff landing position, the wing flaps be lowered to 15 degrees, and the cabin remained unpressurized. Co-pilot William Rasnack, William R. Informed Cooper that the aircraft's range was limited to approximately 1,000 miles under the specific flight configuration, which meant that a second refueling would be necessary before entering Mexico. Cooper and the crew discussed options and agreed on Reno, Nevada as the refueling stop. Oh my God. So it's like, okay, what do we got?
Well, we can't stop
figure this
there.
Out, boys. They got like a whiteboard. They're like, okay, well, if we go here, then I don't think we can make it. Which kind of comes into some of the evidence later. With the plane's rear exit door open and its staircase extended, Cooper directed the pilot to take off. Northwest Home Office objected on grounds that it was unsafe to take off with the aft staircase deployed. Cooper countered that it was indeed safe, but he would not argue the point. He would lower it once they were airborne. At approximately 7:40 p.m., the Boeing 727 took off with only 5 people on board, including Cooper. They were followed by 5 planes, including like government planes that were keeping an eye on them and stuff. After takeoff, Cooper told Mucklow to join the rest of the crew in the cockpit and remain there with the door closed. As she complied, Mucklow observed Cooper tying something around his waist. At approximately 8 p.m., a warning light flashed in the cockpit, indicating that the aft air stair apparatus had been activated. The crew's offer of assistance via the aircraft's intercom system was curtly refused. You okay back there?
You need any help jumping out?
I'm good.
I'm good, dog.
Just the wind is like, oh, good. The crew soon noticed a subjective change in air pressure, indicating the aft door was open. At approximately 8:13, the aircraft's tail section sustained a sudden upward movement large enough to require trimming to bring the plane back to level flight. At approximately 10:15, the aircraft's aft stairways was still deployed once Scott and Rasnick landed the 727 at Reno. FBI, state troopers, and sheriff deputies and Reno police surrounded the jet, as has not yet been determined with certainty that Cooper was no longer on board, but an armed search quickly confirmed his absence. He has never been positively identified and has never been heard from to this day. So that's the end of what happened. So now we get into the investigation. FBI even found 66 unidentified fingerprints. They also found his black clip-on tie, his tie clip, and 2 of the 4 parachutes, one of which had been open and from whose canopy 2 shroud suspension lines had been cut. Authorities interviewed eyewitnesses in Seattle and Reno and all those who personally interacted with Cooper. A series of composite sketches was developed, which are famous now, which you may have already looked up. The local police and FBI agents immediately began questioning possible suspects, and among them considered more than 800. Of these, all but 2 dozen were eliminated.
Start with a wide, just cast a wide net there.
Quote, it became one of the longest and most exhaustive investigations in FBI history, known as NORJAC, Northwest Hijacking. On Sunday, February 10th, 1980, a boy named Brian Ingram was vacationing with his family on the Columbia River at beachfront known as Tina Bar, about 9 miles downstream from Vancouver, Washington. He uncovered 3 packets of ransom cash, and as he raked the sandy riverbank to build a campfire. These were from the hijacking. These are the only recovered money from the hijacking.
So he buried some of the money? What?
It just came down this river. Like they don't know where it came from. They just found it on the bank of a river, basically. So there's still like 9,000 remaining bills that have never turned up. The FBI also disclosed that Cooper had chosen the older of the 2 primary parachutes supplied to him rather than the technically superior professional sport parachute, and that the 2 reserve parachutes, he selected a dummy one, an unusable unit that is with an inoperative ripcord intended for classroom demonstrations. Although it had clear markings identifying it to any experienced skydiver as non-functional. The FBI stressed the inclusion of the dummy reserve parachute, one of the 4 obtained in haste from a Seattle skydiving school, was accidental.
Yeah, okay.
They weren't just trying to fuck him up. In November 2011, people basically analyzed his tie and found that it had titanium, which was only really found in like metal fabrication and production facilities, as well as some rare earth minerals such as cerium and strontium sulfide that would only come from places such as Boeing's Supersonic Transport Development Project. So Cooper might have been a Boeing employee. He's at least he is known to. He's probably a factory worker or of some kind, or a manager. In terms of profiling, he was possibly Canadian because of his lack of accent, use of the term negotiable American currency, because people don't say that from America. And his false name might be a reference to a Belgian comic about a paratrooper that was not released in the U.S., but was released in Canada. Evidence suggests that Cooper was knowledgeable about flying technique aircraft in the terrain. He knew about the 747, could be jumped out of, and on what specific pitch and flap angles. He also knew that the plane could fly with a stare down, which was not common knowledge. Although it was unconscionably perilous by the high safety training equipment standards of skydivers, whether Cooper's jump was virtually suicidal is a matter of dispute. The author of an overview and comparison of World War II aircraft bailouts with Cooper drop asserts a probability of his survival. Because what I don't think I've said in this is that it was fucking raining and foggy as shit the night that he went. And it was at night. So he jumps out of a plane into the rain and stuff, wearing a suit and like just suit stuff and glasses. He has. The Bureau was more skeptical, concluding that Cooper lacks crucial skydiving skills and experience. Quote, "We originally thought Cooper was an experienced jumper, perhaps even a paratrooper," said Special Agent Larry Carr, leader of the investigative team, from 2006 until its dissolution in 2016. "We concluded after a few years that this was simply not true. A Boeing 727 at flaps 15 degrees and lightweight probably flies at 150 knots or 172 miles per hour. No experienced parachutist would have jumped in the pitch black night in the rain with a 172 mile per hour wind in his face wearing loafers and a trench coat. It was simply too risky. He also missed that his reserve parachute was only for training and was sewn shut, something a skilled skydiver would have checked. He also failed to bring or request a helmet. Chose to jump with an older and technically inferior of the 2 primary parachutes supplied to him, and jumped at a probable 15 degrees Fahrenheit wind at 10,000 feet in November over Washington State without proper protection against the extreme wind chill into a forest, presumably.
Right. The FBI he could have jumped anywhere between Seattle and Reno, right? So he could have jumped much farther south.
That's the whole thing.
Right.
The FBI speculated from the beginning that Cooper did not survive his jump. Quote, diving into the wilderness without a plan, without the right equipment, in such terrible conditions, he probably never even got his chute open, said Carr. Even if he did land safely, agents contend that survival in the mountainous terrain on the onset of winter would have been impossible without an accomplice at a predetermined landing point. This would have required a precisely timed jump, necessitating, in turn, cooperation from the flight crew. There is no evidence that Cooper requested or received any help from the crew, nor that he had any clear idea where he was going to jump into the stormy, overcast darkness. There is no statute of limitations on his case because air piracy ends after like 10 years or something like that. But they found him in violation of something called the Hobbs Act, which means it's indefinite. After 45 years, the FBI shelved the case, but is willing to look at new information. The Wikipedia article goes on to list a bunch of like suspects, but we just don't have time for that.
Wild.
So given a man gets a bunch of money, claims he has a bomb, jumps out of the plane with one of his parachutes being faulty, into the pitch black night, wearing only loafers and a trench coat and a suit. What do you think happened to him?
It's weird because given the interactions that he had with the flight crew, he didn't seem like a stupid person, and he seemed to know the topography. He was at least a little familiar with it. And he really could have jumped out much farther south. Like, if he jumped out in Washington, then sure, maybe he died because it was so cold. But if he jumped out somewhere closer to Nevada, then it would be a lot warmer, right? So I don't know. I mean,
they don't have a clear point of where he landed.
Exactly, they don't have a clear point of where he jumped out.
They also haven't found a body too, which is also like a point of contention with this case.
I'm thinking that maybe it's a good possibility in my mind that he survived and just got away with this.
Yeah, one of the suspects did do like a similar hijacking, and then died in like, I think, a gun battle with police later. Like he went to prison and then he died. So it's like, okay, it might have been him. There's also just like so many suspects. Because if you look at the pictures of the people, you're like, yeah, fixed. Like each one, the evidence they provide in the Wikipedia article, which on Wikipedia historians sometimes will go like, we aren't actually using Wikipedia because the Wikipedia article, this one is like fucking dense. Like it's the densest one. So go and read it if you have any interest and look at some of the suspects, because each one I looked at and I was just like, yeah, makes sense. It could be them. Yeah, makes sense. It could be them.
Makes sense. Could be them, yeah.
That's why it's an unsolved mystery, is because there's so many. There's also a bunch of like people who deathbed confess to being DB Cooper, which is interesting to me.
Right.
Or like people who had like nightmares of like leaving fingerprints on plane, and their wife was like, "Hey, what's up with that?" Just weird stuff about that. This is not like this is a tip of the iceberg for DB Cooper. This is just explaining what happened and stuff, but. I love this mystery. I think it's fun because it's there's certain mysteries that I like because I'm really big into unsolved kind of cases. And this one is, everybody loves it. And it has that fun, like, did he survive? Did he die? You can be as macabre as you want with it, because there are some people who are like, he fucking got impaled on a pine tree.
Yep.
And there's a skeleton somewhere with some fucking killer sunglasses on it.
Yeah, dude.
But I personally think that he got away with it. I don't know what he did. He didn't use any of the money though. Like that's another weird part. That's a case for him dying.
It's a weird one. I mean,
it's so interesting. It's fun because there's certain unsolved mysteries where you're like, okay, well, this person probably did it. Like there's one like person, like the Black Dahlia murders. There's like one guy that everyone's like, I'm pretty sure is this dude. He like fucking said on a tape, like I could get away with killing the Black Dahlia. So I think it was him. Whereas this one, you're like, there's so many suspects and each one has like their own thing that gives them an edge that you're like, ooh, it could be them. And it has that angle of like, did he die though? Like, ooh, so it has like enough mystery, but also is confined enough. Because there's also mysteries where you're like, what? You're literally just like, it could be anyone. It's like, okay, fuck it. Like
right.
Like that's kind of the West. There's some questions about like some specific people that they think did the West Memphis 3 killings, but it's like they can't tell now. Like they got rid of all that evidence.
Too late now.
Like,
it's gone. Too far gone.
So I'm very big into true crime for people who don't know, and I'm also big into ending this podcast. Thank you, everybody.
He's big into ending the podcast.
I gotta get more drugs, dude.
Wow, back on that horse, huh? You can only kick it for 1 hour while we record.
If you wanna tell me to get off the drugs, send us an email at segmentcitypodcast@gmail.com.
Please send that. It's the only thing between him and the drugs.
Yeah, hit up Twitter at Segment City or YouTube Segment City. Give us a review if you like this. We're not going to be doing true crime stuff all the time. Theo did some others. I mean, the Drake Bell stuff was probably a form of true crime.
It's true, and it's probably criminal crime. Yeah,
but leave us a review if you like this. We love hearing reviews and star ratings. We'd love to give a 5-star review to our good friend
Rachel Robinson. She does our intro music. She's amazing. She has her own music somewhere. We should figure out where she posts her own music and pimp that here. You know, that would be a good thing to do. Next time, I'll have that information for you, lovely listeners. Until then, go Google her name and figure out where to find her. But I'll have more details later. Anyways, thank you, Rachel.
I'll have more details later, and you're gonna forget by next podcast.
Oh, 100%.
There was a bit we did a while back about you had to remember that I haven't drank warm milk.
Yeah, no, I totally forgot until you just said it. Yep, you got me there.
But you didn't rember, so
no, I didn't.
It's a moot point now.
I told you I wasn't going to. I don't know why anybody should be surprised.
Yay! Well, that's the end of the podcast. Bye.
You don't get to win when I told you were going to win.
I already ended the podcast. It's over.